Hello and welcome back to this edition of Daily Actives brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin. We are looking at Palantir once again, and wow, things have turned, but not necessarily much better. When we look at the price, you can see here in column K, we do see the blue lettering with the black background. It means the price has essentially been staying at 2 standard deviations below its 23-day moving average. The price at 1440, while it doesn't seem like it's really that bad historically, it is kind of a concern because the low here was 1350. And I guess we did hold that so far, but actually, you know what? Today was actually a very positive day when I start to think about it now. The candle doesn't really represent what the day was like. It must have actually like gapped down and opened up a little bit higher, because when we look at 1440 and it being up 1.77%, that is a positive change. I mean, we haven't necessarily flipped on the 5-day, the 15-day, or the 1 month yet. I do see that the volatility right now, the volatility is probably about as low as it's going to go. The way I calculate it, it's going to be based off of, it's actually at a 1 right now, which is really positive to see, because now you're going to get a complete flip in volatility, and especially considering that this price has been falling. What I want to look at first, before I even look at some other stuff in this, if you've watched my videos before, you'll know what I'm doing when I'm looking at the volatility. I want to see what the volatility looks like for Palantir, which right now, again, it's at a 1.0. The correlation is actually high. So if we get this to start to break out and the correlation stays high, the price could actually move very significantly, very quickly, which I like. That's a really good signal for where Palantir is right now, because when we look at the signals from the short term, intermediate term, and longer term, it still goes short. We look at the trend indicators, short term, intermediate term, and longer term, it is still bearish. When we look even at the rolling sentiment, we still have a falling bear. We don't see any resumption of necessarily higher. The one thing that I will say is that if you look at the 10-day rolling here, we're going to go to 26 tomorrow, or I mean Monday. That is at least hopefully higher than the 25 that we saw today, which is what we're praying for was a bottom if you're long in Palantir. The type of move that we're expecting, though, could be much higher from here, because we're still holding the major gains that we've had in Palantir from like the under 10 level. We're still well above that. We're, nearly 50% up from that point, 44% if you want to be exact. But the way that the thing is looking and trading right now, we're losing our bearish key 3. We haven't gained any bullish key 3. We did get a sell signal at 1545. That was definitely something that we pay attention to. We like to pay attention to our sell and buy signals. If you can get them, they're very difficult to get. So very big fans. I think the idea right now is that we may have just seen the end of it. I think the only thing I'll bring up that I don't normally bring up in this is, let's look here at the VIX. So the VIX is actually probably the most concerning thing that we see in the overall market. Now, I had an idea that the VIX was going to fall, and the reason why is because it was at the top of its range earlier. That was yesterday, and it did fall a little bit today. Now, I was expecting to get a little bit more bullishness when I want to see some risk on. Right now, it looks like we're flipping back to even VIX warning, VIX watch, and storm brewing. That's just something that means something to me, but if you want to look at it, that's very concerning. The day that you got the flip was on August 8th. You can go ahead and look at stocks and see what you think. Now, when we flip back to Palantir here, I am looking specifically at the chart, and I do like the level that we're holding. Again, being at 1440, staying above that 1350 level, that's very positive. It looks like we could be, I don't know if we're going to flirt with it or if we did. Because what was the open? The open was at 1380. That's why you're noticing it. I was like, so the low was 1368. We held that. We did close at 1440. We even had a high at 1460. That's really positive to see in Palantir. When we look at the overall daily sentiment, we can see that we've regressed all the way back down to 43.6% in terms of bullishness. That's really positive to see. That's probably the lowest print on this, nearly the lowest print on this in the past like 9 months, which is really good to see. You've had very bullish action from this level. Even on the weekly, if we look at the weekly sentiment, we're down at 49%. Actually, we are back here because they don't have enough data to populate it. So actually, we are at 62% and still rising. So that's very positive. We've come down a little bit, but you can still definitely get a wave back up in your daily moves. The volume is starting to return to a certain extent. That's really nice at the level that we're at. That's showing that there's a lot of support there. A lot of demand is coming back in at that price. The volatility, I love that the volatility has fallen. The correlation is still high. So what we'd expect is that the volatility is going to break out, just like we talked about before. Correlation will stay high and things will just rise. We are at the bottom of the range. We're down at 1332 is the bottom of the range right now, which is very interesting. Yesterday it was 1352. And we do see that little bit of a bump. The top of the range is up at 2089. I would definitely take a risk reward with that as a stop, and that is my profit target. I feel good about that. We look at the ultra fast sentiment indicator, same thing. Things look very much like they could set up a great opportunity, even on the weekly. The weekly ultra fast. So this one is actually, I don't know why this one works. Oh, this is why, because the data at the very end is there, but the old data is still here. So if we look on the ultra fast sentiment indicator is still at 70% and rising, which is, again, incredibly bullish. for where you see it. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Are you long? Are you short? Do you like it? Do you love it? Is this even a good review? And before you go, subscribe to the New High newsletter. We give you 25 stocks to your inbox every single Sunday just for free. Stocks breaking out to 52-week highs and breaking out to their own new highs. As well as one thing I want to show you just before you go is I'm very curious on what you think about this indicator here. We're looking at the holdings of the S&P 500. Each of these that are red mean that they flip bearish. We looked at what bearish meant here in Palantir. These are going to be potentially available in a new product that we'll have here at Bootleg Macro. It's kind of swift trading. It is a JavaScript component that will show you the holdings of the S&P 500. If they flip bullish, you can see them in green here. If they flip bearish, you'll see them in red. You can get that and download it and just pay your monthly subscription. And tell me what you think in the comments below. I will talk to you soon.